Hello YouTube. My interest in this sword is generated by stories of strange experiences with iron meteorites in Southwest Africa, known as Namibia. I learned about while visiting the continent long ago. And also because the emperor was a very unusual person. You will see the link to my video about him in the description to this one. So we had a mysterious emperor and a very unusual sword. So let's start from the beginning. The Cape of Good Hope meteorite was discovered in 1793. It was recovered in Sunday's River Valley local municipality, Sarah Bertman District Municipality in Eastern Cape, South Africa. It was a unique meteorite, broken into several pieces, and it has a mass of 136 kilograms. The Cape of Good Hope meteorite is a uniform nickel-rich ataxite with 16% nickel. Cape of Good Hope meteorite is considered to be a valid meteorite. Valid meteorites are typical meteorites with average weathering, while relic meteorites are those that have been extremely altered, either due to weathering over time or human intervention. The Cape of Good Hope's meteorite official classification is iron 4B. The iron 4B classification refers to a specific type of meteorite, primarily composed of iron and nickel, formed through the crystallization process from a molten state. These meteorites belong to the 4B chemical group, distinguishing them within broader category of iron meteorites based on their unique chemical and structural characteristics. Its substance has experienced a powerful impact, as evidenced by the system of parallel sliding bands, Schlieren bands, that appear on its sections etched with nitric acid. So it's structureless iron meteorite ataxite group 4B. The Cape Good Hope meteorite is also a found meteorite. You see, meteorites are classified as falls if they were observed falling down and recovered, while finds are those discovered later, often weathered by longer exposure to Earth environment and without a record of being seen as they fell. So this fine specimen, this Cape of Good Hope iron meteorite, arrived in Britain in the early 19th century. As again, it had first been discovered many decades before and was at one time thought to be the remains of a ship's anchor. After a number of adventures between 1803 and 1804, 3 fragments of this meteorite, and one weighed 87 kilograms, arrived in England. The specimen was brought to the museum of James Sowerby, who lived between the years of 1757 and 1822. And so these 3 pieces of the Cape of Good Hope meteorite fell into the hands of this famous naturalist and scientist, James Sowerby, who, among other things, was engaged in the study of meteorites. The analysis of the pieces showed a high nickel content from 10 to 15%. A modern study of the preserved pieces gave it 16.3%. And the long road to the Russian emperor began. On June 7, 1814, in connection with the celebration of victory in the war against Napoleon, a large delegation from the Russian Empire arrived in England, led personally by Emperor Alexander I. On the eve of these celebrations, which shocked London, not all in a good way. I'm not going to get into gossip, where etiquette was broken, what happened, who slept where. Leave it alone. James Sowerby comes up with an unexpected and unusual idea to present the Russian Tsar king with a weapon, for which a part of the meteorite from the Cape of Good Hope could be used. It was said and it was done. On May 4th, a month before the arrival of the Russian imperial delegation, the meteorite was processed and forged at the famous Henry Maudsley arms factory. Some of them are still preserved in the London Museum of Natural History, by the way. The final processing of the blade and the addition of the hilt to it was taken over by another famous English gunsmith, John Prosser. He also made a mahogany saber case. As Sowerby wrote, the blade was forged from an inch-thick strip, sanded and polished, and a greasy shank was welded to the strip. The whole operation took 10 hours. Mounting the handle and engraving the inscriptions took 2 more days. After a short consultation, Sowerby received permission to present the saber. See, I will call it either a saber or a sword, but it is a saber, technically. So he presented it to this Russian emperor. However, it was not possible to present this gift. The old man Sowerby was simply not allowed to see the imperial person. Only on July 4th, 1814, the saber went to Alexander I because Major General Kikin, the emperor's secretary, took it with him. The saber itself, the case, and the letter from Sowerby in which he described the circumstances of the appearance of this weapon, all of them went to Russia. The Major General left, but Sowerby couldn't find out for a long time if Alexander I, the Russian emperor, had received his gift. So the English scientist received a reply letter only in 1819. It was reported that some unknown circumstances prevented the gift from being presented to the emperor immediately. However, when this happened, the emperor received it favorably and ordered a silver ring with a large emerald set with diamonds to be handed over to Sowerby as a gesture of present in return. It should be noted that unlike the saber, the ring reached the recipient in just 6 months. The saber is modeled after the sabers of officers of flank companies, the 1803 type, which were very popular in England at the beginning of the 19th century. It has a strongly curved single-edged blade with a double-edged battle end and a hilt made of a guard with splints turning into a single bow, a pommel with a back and a wooden handle covered with shark skin and intertwined with silver wire. The metal parts of the hilt are steel. The length of the blade in a straight line is 615 millimeters. The width of the guard is 33 millimeters, and the thickness is 4.3 millimeters. The handle length is 108 millimeters. The blade was forged in a cold way, as meteoritic iron in hot form, according to metallurgists, became brittle. The blade is decorated with engravings and inscriptions. This iron, having fallen from the heavens, was, upon his visit to England, presented to His Majesty Alexander, Emperor of all the Russias, who has successfully joined in battle to spread the blessings of peace throughout Europe by James Sorby, FLS, GS, honorary member of the Physical Society of Göttingen, etc., June 1814. The inscription is engraved with an imperial crown, a laurel wreath with a palm, and the inscription Mercy, and a double-headed eagle. There's also an inscription on the other side of the blade, pure meteoritic iron found at the Cape of Good Hope. The scabbard is made of leather. There is an inscription on the mouth. This blade was mounted by John Prosser, sword cutler, to the Prince Regent Charing Cross. Today, the saber is kept in the Hermitage collection. There is a claim that the sword was lost, and the search in the USSR in 1937 found no trace of it. But it was not lost. And I don't know who did the search in 1937. A very precarious year. Anyway, the saber, the sword, was in the storage of the Hermitage State Museum in St. Petersburg. Now I want to tell you the story about its rediscovery. See, the staff of the Vernadsky Institute of Geochemistry and Analytical Chemistry of the Russian Academy of Sciences finally found it in 2012 in the vaults of the Hermitage. Alexander Karachantsev, an employee of the Institute, told how the story of the lost gift to the Emperor Alexander unfolded. The geochemists became interested in the sword for a reason. The material from which it was cast was fragments of an iron meteorite found in South Africa. So on the trail of this saber, in its curved shape, the gift most closely resembles the saber. They got to this trail thanks to a publication in the book of V.F. Buchwald titled Iron and Steel in Ancient Times, published in the year 2005, explained Karachantsev. We have not found any mention of it in Russian and Soviet literature. Buchwald's book also published an old photograph and a link to an oral report that the sword is kept in the Hermitage. Next, we sent an appeal to the Hermitage Weapons Department, where we were informed that they had such an exhibit. The fact that the saber was not displayed was probably due to the fact that no one paid much attention to the inscription on it. Imagine what else is, not being displayed. Anyway, and I've talked about some other items in my videos. Anyway, the geochemist request seems to have made a lot of noise. The geochemists were told that the Hermitage is hastily preparing an article about the find and wants to present it as a new exhibit at the new exhibition. Is the exact composition of the saber metal already known? Russian journalist asked Karachantsev. And the analysis of the substance from which the blade is made has not been carried out, but the inscriptions on the saber can be trusted. Ataxite meteorites, which include the Cape of Good Hope meteorite from which it is made, are suitable for forging because they have no structure, unlike other iron meteorites. It turns out that the sword of Alexander I, which survived the terrible and fateful years of the Russian Revolution, Russian Civil War, Gorbachev's perestroika, and the destruction of the Soviet Union, was waiting in the wings to reveal its secret to us, the denizens of the year 2013. Okay, now let's get back to our times. The sword, that saber, is a magnificent specimen. What is it worth, at least, to realize that in your hands is an object, some elements of which fell from deep space? We don't know if the emperor has considered such a thing, but the very existence of this saber excites the imagination. It's a mystical thing if you think about it. Iron meteorites are drops of dead stars. The metal you see may be several billion years of age, and it arrived to us billions of kilometers away from incomprehensible distances. Alexander I, he understood the value of the gift well. He kept this saber in his office for the rest of his life. Maybe it influenced him in the ways we do not understand. And it's mesmerizing if you look at it for a long time. All I can add is that natives from the lands I described, Southwest Africa, who had experience with meteorites, and there are plenty there, iron meteorites, well, they tell sometimes, not to everyone, of things that affect their minds if they spend too much time with meteorites. But there is something else, not only meteorite, there is a plant that's involved. And one day I'll talk about it. But that's what I wanted to let you know today. And I'll bring you more stories like this about the unknown pages of Russian history, but also of Africa, and of the strange objects that fall down from the sky. I want to thank you for your attention to my work. If you can support my research, please do so you will see how to do it in the description to this video. There are links and explains what to do. Please like my videos. Please tell others about my work. Thank you, and Happy New Year to you all.